Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. We are very fortunate, we are very honored and privileged to have with us on this show Mr. Robert Spencer Knotts. Did I have that correct, sir?
You have that correct, sir.
And welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you and to let the audience know Bob Knotts, as he's well known as. Bob Knotts is a very interesting person, a very well experienced man in journalism, the media. He has been awarded with great honors in many different fields. And I don't want to take away from his background because that's what it is all about here on the show, to talk to him and let you learn from his experience and benefit from what he has to share with us. So, Bob Knotts, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Shaikh Shafayat. Good friend Shafayat. It's the honor is mine, really.
It's really a pleasure, and I'm sure our viewers worldwide, internet nowadays, the social media nowadays is phenomenal, the entire world. You can never tell where in the world somebody is listening to you and someone is taking your broadcast and sharing it on other mediums and other media that they have available. So your experience will really benefit a lot of people. And I would like to start with you sharing with our viewers. As I said, we got viewers from all over the world, so it would be nice for viewers to know, where are you from originally? Are you originally from Florida, or what state in the United States?
No, I ended up here by an odd set of circumstances. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. And so I'm a Detroiter, and being a good American kid of my vintage, I was a fan of baseball and American football and, all the major sports, but particularly baseball. And so to this day, I root for the Detroit Tigers, my sort of currently hapless, but I still beloved team. And so originally from Detroit, but I've lived a number of places over the years.
So just to cut you, because the whole fun of this conversation is having to cut you here and there. Every time you say something, I want to know. I want the viewers to know. So when you say that you work for the Detroit Tigers, what are we saying? What are you doing with them? What connection you still have?
No, I root for the Tigers, meaning I cheer for them. They're my team, as if you, like in soccer and football, you root for Liverpool or whatever. I root for the Detroit Tigers in American baseball.
Beautiful. I understand that. Now, that is interesting. Tell us a little bit again about your life and growing up in Detroit.
Sure. I was a typical sort of Midwestern middle-class kid. As I look back on it, we didn't really have a whole lot of money, but we were comfortable. I viewed us as, I suppose, very middle class. It might have been a little bit less economically than that. But, I was never hungry and never had to worry about having adequate clothes and so on. It was a kind of a typical 1950s and 60s growing up, and very much with those kinds of values that were common in the Midwest. And one of the things I've always been grateful for is that part of the country in particular is known, very well known even today, for people being accessible, for being open to other people and enjoying meeting new people and chat, hey, hello, even though you're a stranger, where other parts of the United States and the world are not necessarily like that.
So how long now have you been in Florida?
I've been here for almost 32 years now.
32 years.
Longer than anywhere else.
So all these achievements, your books that we're going to talk about, that you have written, your media experience as a journalist, being a writer, report on radio, TV, newspaper, etc. Did this happen in Florida or did it happen in Detroit?
Neither. Well, actually, some of it in Florida, a lot of it in Florida. But I began my career in journalism in Vermont, actually. In fact, I used to cover Bernie Sanders.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know him quite well, as a matter of fact. I've spent more hours around Bernie than I would care to think about. And he went to the United Nations, for example, at one point to watch a speech by Daniel Ortega, who was the president of Nicaragua. And I went with him to cover it. It was just the two of us. And we rode the same plane, and then we shared a taxi going into Manhattan together. And he pointed out where in Brooklyn he lived as a kid and all that. So, yeah.
Wow. So if Bernie Sanders had become president, you would have been sitting somewhere in the White House.
No, probably not. Bernie and I haven't talked in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I do know him well, and he would certainly know who I am even today. So yeah, but a lot of it began there. I started writing for newspapers in Vermont, then I was doing a classical music radio program, and I thought that I would try to combine the two, so I got into working for a CBS radio affiliate. And I did that for about 2.5 years, or maybe it was a little longer actually, maybe 3 or 3.5. And then it was actually 2.5 years in television. The CBS affiliate, which is the big one in Vermont, WCAX, was having me as a guest on their Sunday talk show.
That's WCAX.
Correct.
Good.
Yep, they're a big station in Vermont. And so they asked me to work for them. So then I went to work there. So yeah, it was 3.5 years in radio, news, and
what radio station did you work with?
It was an AM FM combo. It was a big one. It was the big radio station in Vermont, actually. WJOY and WPR was the FM station.
Oh, that is interesting. I mean, journalism is a fantastic thing. I love it. I mean,
important work, and I admire good journalists very much to this day. I enjoy being around them because it's comfortable for me, but I also admire what journalists do.
Yes. So what newspaper did you work with?
Well, there I was writing for the Rutland Herald and the Barrie Times-Argus, which were two of the three largest papers in Vermont. And then because I really consider myself more a writer than enjoying, being on broadcast. I wanted to get back into newspapers, and a former competitor of mine in Vermont covering Bernie had come down to South Florida to write for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, the big newspaper, as you know,
yes.
here in this part of Florida. And so I called him up and ended up down here. He recommended me, and I came down for the interviews and all that. So that was in 1989, and I worked for the paper for 5.5 years before I left to go freelance write.
But talking about journalism, I like that, and that's the fun about the discussion. What do you think about the journalism that we have been experiencing over the last election? What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting. I have very mixed feelings. During the Trump administration, many small newspapers went out of business, and there was this sharp division, as you well know, in the country between liberal supporters, people who might have voted for Barack Obama, and the more conservative folks who would have been Trump supporters. And each of them tend to listen, it's like an echo chamber. Liberals go to the stations that give them feedback about what they already believe and confirm it, and the same with the conservatives. So that part of it I'm not real crazy about. On the other hand, it's been a heyday again for journalists in the major newspapers like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, because there's been so much corruption to cover in the Trump administration. And there have been some very, very good journalists who have been uncovering it.
I know that sounds interesting, but I enjoyed looking at both sides and listening to both sides. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But the sad thing is that sometimes you see some of these journalists try to make a story that does not make sense, and it really looks very fake.
Yes.
And that's a little sad, but I suppose that's probably the enjoyment on the news media network if you don't have those kind of stories.
Well, I think that with networks like Fox, they've played pretty loose with the truth for a long time, and so even there's a separation between their news division, which is not always so bad, sometimes quite good. On election night, for example, they called Arizona early ahead of many other networks.
Right.
And then there's the commentary side of Fox, which tends to be pretty extreme.
Yes, totally opposite to the news sometimes.
Yeah. And you're right, Shafayat. There are journalists, particularly commentators, who try to stir the pot. Often these are highly paid people who are more worried about their ratings and about their next bonus check and their next contract for huge millions of dollars than they are about informing society and helping society to be a better informed place. And that, to me, is sad. That's not journalism. That's something else.
But as an experienced journalist, as a writer of many books, again, as I said before, we'll talk about, I think it will be very important if you share a few seconds in really clarifying the difference with the news and the commentators, because unfortunately, a lot of people listen to commentators and think that's the news. True. That's what they heard on television. And sometimes myself, I gotta slap myself and say, listen, that's only a commentator. That is not what is happening. So could you just share that, because you're a writer, you're a former TV and radio reporter?
Yes, absolutely. A journalist who goes out and covers the news and tries to report it accurately uses sources. So mostly and ideally on the record, meaning if I come to you and I say, tell me about your organization, you give me facts and details that I then write down and try to confirm through other sources. Today's world, it's a lot easier because you can go onto Google and confirm things. When I was doing it, you had to talk to other people or go to the library or confirm things in that way. But what you're trying to do as a journalist is to report factual information to the very best of your ability. And then a commentator, on the other hand, takes facts and just interprets them. And they say, I see what Shaikh Shafayat is doing in his work, and I want to write an op-ed saying how wonderful I think it is and what excellent work and what a bright, capable man he is. That's interpretation. So once you start hearing opinions, when you tune into a TV show and somebody is saying this is good, this is bad, they're making judgments, they're making value judgments. That's commentary. But when it's somebody saying, the president got up today and signed this bill, and now he's going to the Pentagon to have a meeting, that's reporting.
And you're right. That's a problem that a lot of viewers have. Unfortunately, they get caught with the commentary and they think that's what's happening. So we have to really differentiate between reality and just commentary of people. But Bob, we gotta go on a short break. Do you believe we've been speaking for 15 minutes now?
I don't believe it.
Yeah,
no.
15 minutes. I mean, time just goes. But you're an interesting person, so time will go very fast talking to you. When we come back, just to the viewers, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Bob Knotts on his books and other achievements. He's the man. This is the show called Who is Who in America, and that's the real Who is Who. It's the man that received an award, the Marquis Award on Who is Who in America. So stay tuned. When we come back after the short break, we'll continue this conversation with Bob Knotts.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa in lam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And He told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. And for those of you who have just tuned in, we have been talking for the past 15 minutes with Mr. Robert Spencer Knotts, well known as Bob Knotts, a very, very interesting person, wonderful personality, a lot of experience in journalism, writing of books and awards. So stay tuned as we continue this conversation with Bob Knotts. So as we were saying, I know in the first segment we spoke a little bit here about journalism and your experience as a newspaper reporter, TV reporter, and radio. So tell us a little bit about what motivated you to write these books, and how many books have you written? And I think we will leave the last segment to talk a little more about the Humanity Project, because these experiences that you have, a wealth of experience, will lead us to why you started the Humanity Project as a humanitarian service for people. All right. So tell us, Bob, what really motivated you to write so many books, and which is your most popular book, which is your latest book? Share it with our viewers.
Sure. Well, I got into writing books because I left daily journalism in 1994 by choice. And I felt that what was happening to the business was it was becoming more corporate. They wanted to spend less money on travel to cover stories. In my time at the South Florida Sun Sentinel, I was there really during a heyday for journalism. And, I was sent to France and to Hawaii to cover stories, and Washington for a week to do investigative reporting and things like that. That doesn't happen anymore at newspapers like that, unless it's the New York Times,
okay,
Washington Post. So I saw the direction that journalism was heading and didn't like it. It didn't feel like there was the same commitment to finding the truth, and they were more concerned about corporate profits. So I left and began to write for national magazines like Sports Illustrated and Reader's Digest and so on. And at some point...
Also, you did write for Reader's Digest, huh?
Oh yeah, many, many times, and Sports Illustrated and major national magazines, Family Circle and U.S.A. Weekend and all kinds of
Wow. I used to love to read Reader's Digest. I mean, it used to be a fun. I just enjoyed the many different topics and the whole layout of the Reader's Digest. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was the largest magazine in the world when I was writing for it, and
Wow.
it was a good magazine, and they paid very well, so that was a plus for
Good.
a freelancer. And as I was writing these magazine articles, I naturally gravitated toward longer forms of writing and thought I would like to write a book. My first book was a novel called Hard News, and it was very much about my experiences as an investigative reporter. And I took an incident, something that I covered for a year, and then made it even more elaborate and dangerous than it really was, as part of a novel. Again, it was fiction. So that was my first book, and I've written 25 now. And my most recent is called Beyond Me. As a matter of fact, I happen to have it sitting here.
Yes, sure does.
And and so as you can see, it's 600 pages long.
Wow.
And it's very much about what the Humanity Project, as you mentioned, and you're very fortunately for us a part of.
Thank you.
It deals very much with issues that are central to what the Humanity Project is about. But I love writing, and 25 books and 5 plays actually so far.
Oh, you're a playwright also.
Yep.
Wow. What are some of the plays you wrote?
Well, one was called Never Nothing Again No More, and as a matter of fact, over this shoulder, that where I'm pointing is the cast of that play, and it was commissioned by what was then the largest regional theater in the southeastern United States, Coconut Grove Playhouse, and they commissioned a play from me with music. I also do music, as you can see, play with music about teen suicide. So that was one of the plays that I've written, and several others. I said four others.
So you're a man who wore many caps, huh?
Well, to me, Shafayat, writing is, each form has different requirements, and you do have to learn, how to write a play or a poem or song lyrics or a novel or whatever. Each is different, but each has the common thread of requiring the skills that a writer has. So, it's like, it's sort of, I look at it as if you are an athlete, and, like a decathlon. There are athletes that can run and throw the javelin and jump and all of that. And it's all part of their being an athlete and drawing on those skills. So for me, that's a little bit what writing is like.
So you wrote that book Beyond Me, over 600 pages away. Yeah, I mean, that takes a lot of time. It does take a lot of time.
5 years of writing, yeah.
Also, it took you 5 years of writing to put this book together.
5 years, and not only that, decades literally of research, as the book makes clear. It's very much drawn on experience.
Yes.
And then it takes that experience and tries to explain how that relates to every person. And it was a big project.
Wow, and that's what we were talking about when we went on the break, that wisdom comes by a lot of times by sitting with the wise. And the wise are those people who accumulated things over their years of experience. So you have taken all these years of experience now with your wisdom and put it together in this book, Beyond Me. If someone would like to get a copy of this book, what do they do? How do they get it? Where do they get it?
They can go any place that sells books. They can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble online. Easiest thing is to buy it online at this point, but you can order it through any bookstore. And it's called Beyond Me, Dissecting Ego to Find the Innate Love at Humanity's Core. So if you looked up my name as the author, Robert Spencer Knotts, some of my other books are under Bob Knotts, but this one is under my full name, Robert Spencer Knotts. And look under Beyond Me, you would find the book.
That is interesting. Listen, that is phenomenal. Nowadays, you really don't have many people pondering, thinking, and about writing books. I notice a lot of writers are all about political things, which is interesting only for a time, But your book, which is beyond me, it will really be beyond me, beyond our time. That's fantastic. What a name. It's going to be beyond our time.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a book that is about what it means to be a human being in full, in my judgment, and what I've observed in my 68 years, my white hair of life. And I hope that there are insights there that can be helpful to people, and I believe it's the kind of book that will gain a larger audience over time. It's not an instant bestseller kind of book.
No, but it's for those who are thinkers, and those who are thinkers. But a little bit on those who are thinkers. Only recently I gave a sermon on that aspect that you were talking about, human beings, and I was reminding myself and the listeners that a lot of people do not understand who is a human being and what is expected from a human being, which is so sad, because one of the first things we need to know is who is a human being and what is expected from a human being, because we are all human beings. And if you don't understand who is a human being, what are the qualities of a human being, then you won't be able to live properly and understand other human beings. Isn't that interesting?
Absolutely. Yes, it is very interesting, and I think you're onto something very important there, Shafayat. It's people tend to dismiss other people and deny their humanity. This one is the wrong religion, this one is the wrong skin color, this one loves the wrong person, whatever it may be, and it diminishes their humanity. And so I think the question of what is a human being is a good one, because people say that they believe in humanity, and people say that they believe in equal rights. But in my experience, an awful lot of people don't. They really, again, deny, in some sense, the humanity of other people, and don't recognize that really fundamentally we're all the same, despite relatively superficial differences, significant differences, but relatively superficial. Fundamentally, you and I are exactly the same. And when we realize that common humanity, we begin to be more fully human ourselves, I think.
And that's what really brings us to the point of do unto others as you would like others do unto you. Because if you believe and you understand what is a human being and what a human being likes or loves, appreciates, just as you would love that, we need to understand that the other human being would love to be treated the same way. And that will make life so beautiful. What a happy world we'd be living into. What a happy world.
I absolutely agree with you, my friend. I think that that kind of perspective, I mean, it's as old as the ages here, that kind of perspective, and yet, again, few people have it. And when we get into talking about the Humanity Project, there is an idea that we promote called shared value, and your listeners may be interested to hear what that is, because it relates very much to what you're just talking about.
Excellent. We have to get into that. So we got about 2 minutes again for this segment. Could you imagine? Wow. The time just goes. But I mean, your experience and your background is what just absorbs the time, because I'm sure viewers would love to listen and are definitely enjoying what you're saying, because I do enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. I
enjoy it also talking to you. I really do. We've talked on the phone many times, and I always find it engaging and enlightening.
Thank you. So in the next minute or so, what other books you would like to talk about that you have written?
Well,
from the 25 books, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them have been for younger people. And again, that ties in with the Humanity Project and why we got into teaching kids. But I've written a series of books about Florida, for example, including the native cultures and the history of Florida, the plants and animals, that sort of thing. I've written, as I mentioned, that I did some writing for Sports Illustrated. I've written a lot of sports magazine stories. I've written quite a few books about sports. So martial arts, weightlifting, the Olympics, some of the major sports heroes in football and baseball and basketball, like Kobe Bryant, for example. Written books about those kinds of folks. So that's a number of them. And then I've written a lot of novels for younger people that deal with themes about overcoming fear and treating other people as you would like to be treated, just the very thing you were talking about. So those are the kinds of themes that appear in the novels for younger people that I've written.
Listen, I am really, 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 really happy, and I think that I'm blessed to have you with us on this show, Who is Who in America. We didn't get to talk about how you got that award, Who is Who in America, but we'll have to continue that on the next segment. We gotta go on a short break. It's 15 minutes already that we've been talking, and for viewers out there, when we return after the short break, we will talk a little bit with Bob Knotts on his award, the Marquee Award of Who is Who in America. He's just among a very few numbers of people who receive that award, and then we'll talk about his beautiful humanity project, this humanitarian services, equality amongst humanity. So stay tuned. When we return, we'll continue this conversation.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. And again, those of you who have just tuned in, we've been talking for the past half an hour with Mr. Robert Spencer Knotts, well known as Bob Knotts, a man who has written many books, a journalist, wonderful experience, a thinker, someone that I think we are very fortunate to have with us on this show so that our viewers can benefit. So welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thank you, Shafayat. It's just an honor to be here, really.
Yes, and it's a privilege for us and an honor also. So I know we spoke about your journalism background, we spoke about your books and Beyond Me and that wonderful book and a little bit of your experience here and there. But one of the first thing I really wanted to talk to you about is about this award before we get into Humanity Project that you're the founder of for the past 15 years, a 501c3 non-profit organization. Before we talk about that, how and when did you get this award of Who is Who in America?
Yeah, the marquee. There are a number of who's who volumes, books, and resources and awards, but the marquee one is the one that is sort of the mainstream one. It's the one that journalists use if they're going to look up biographies on celebrities or whoever, and the New York Times has written about it and so on. And so it was 2003 actually when I first was awarded the entry into the Who's Who in America, and then was the next year, I believe, that I became part of Who's Who in the World. So, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, eh? Who is who in America and who is who in the world?
Right.
I love
Right.
that. I love that. And that's why we have this show on Alhikmat TV, Who is Who in America, because we take people like yourself from all over the United States of America, and we talk to them about their experience, their knowledge. You know, I think that's so valuable for viewers and our listeners out there worldwide.
Well, thanks. It's it's an honor, and I'm grateful to be part of it.
Thank you very much. So tell us now about the Humanity Project. What led you, what motivated you to begin this, or establish this organization, and what is it all about?
Well, in the last segment, we were talking about my writing of books and plays, and the play on teen suicide was part of it, and some of the books for youth, particularly those novels that I mentioned, the fiction that talk about human values within the story. So those got me thinking that it would be important to have a practical application for these ideas. I felt very, very strongly and do feel passionately about these ideas about human values. So I thought if I created a nonprofit organization that could promote those values in practical ways, that you're not just saying to somebody, here, go read my book and you figure it out.
Right.
You're actually working with children and adults to help teach the ideas and help them understand how to apply them.
Right.
That was really the genesis of the Humanity Project.
I see you have the Humanity Project shirt on there.
I do.
It looks beautiful.
I need to get you one of these. Yeah.
I have to get one of that, right?
Yeah, I have to get you one.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Shafayat, I should mention, if you forgive me, I want to let your viewers know that you're a valued member of our leadership council on the topic of religious equality, and I am just so proud, honored, and grateful, as we all are at the Humanity Project, to have you part of our organization.
and I need to thank you very much for, inviting me to be part of this organization and to be head of the religious diversity team. Thank you very much. I mean, I know you had to do a lot of thinking before you chose me to.
Once I learned about you, it was not didn't require a lot of thought. It was obvious that you would be the perfect person.
Good, and we have a powerful team, high voltage people, and we'll get a lot going. I would love to, maybe very soon, we may probably do what is called a broadcast with that team. I mean, you're a man of journalism. I love journalism. So we can take this team and discuss with them on media. Record
Absolutely.
it and let the world know who they are and how they can contribute to the Humanity Project. I think that is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, we have 9 social media pages already and 3 websites, one main website, thehumanityproject.com. And on that website, we have a podcast. So we've recorded 128 podcasts so far over our life. Yeah, and I had mentioned to you privately that I would like to have you very soon.
No problem.
Yeah, you'd be perfect.
Good. So, let us know a little more of some of the past activities you have had, what you plan to have. What are some of these things because, as I said earlier on, our viewers are worldwide. You got people who probably for the first time hearing about a Humanity Project. Some people after hearing your views and opinions and the reasons why you established this, they might be motivated in some other country in the world to establish a humanity project. They might be calling you to get advice on how to go about it and what they should do.
We would welcome that. Yes, just to fill your viewers in a little bit, our motto is equality for each, respect for all. And
equality for each and respect for all. Fantastic.
Equality for each and respect for all. And then our mission statement is instilling greater respect for the goodness and inherent value of humanity. So that kind of focuses what we do. And then we have different programs, some for kids, some for adults, that try to get into the community. For example, one of them is called Humanity Club. And we work with a core group. We go into a school and we'll spend a full year in some cases, in one case 2 years at the same school.
Right.
We work handpicked female student leaders of color. And we do that to promote racial equality, and we do that to promote gender equality.
Right.
And we teach them about our values of equality and respect and what they really mean in terms that children can understand. And then we help them create a program they take to their peers. We work with them on leadership skills, and they take this program to their peers and teach their peers about equality and respect and how to stop bullying. So that's an example of what we do.
And that's important in the school system. The bullying situation is a big problem.
Very bad.
Very big problem. I mean, half of the problems that you have, it's all about some kind of bullying there.
That really is true, and particularly in school, we've learned that kids will pick on another child because they have the wrong sneakers on, or jeans, or they don't, their mother doesn't drive them to school, they have to take the school bus, or whatever it is. Anything that the in kids, so-called, can find to pick on another child, they will. Any difference, if they come from another country or whatever.
Yeah. So how do we work on environments or working environment with co-workers? How do you?
So you're talking about adults now.
Yes, yes. The Humanity Project. What sort of programs you have for co-workers to better understand that equality?
Well, we don't specifically have something that goes into businesses per se, although
because that is private. Yes.
Yeah, but we do have programs where the public is more than welcome to participate, and we promote those on our social media. And one of them, actually, you're going to be involved in on January 23rd, which is 3 days after the U.S. presidential inauguration. Our new president comes into office on January 20th, and we see it as a hopeful time where maybe this divided country can begin to heal. So we're having a panel discussion called Seeking Common Ground, and we're having 13 panelists from a wide variety of political perspectives and religious views. We have got the Jewish Federation, we have conservative Christian churches, we have Children's Services Council, an agency that works with children, all kinds of folks as part of this. And I'm going to be moderating it, and we're going to be trying to not talk about politics, not talk about religion, but find areas that we can agree on and come up with a plan for some joint action. So there's an example of the kind of thing that we do in reaching out to adults to try to bring diverse viewpoints together to recognize what we were talking about earlier, that we're all human beings. That's why we're the Humanity Project.
Yes.
Our project is to get other people to recognize, to participate in humanity, to feel like they're part of something that's a larger thing than they are.
That is interesting. Commonality among humanity.
There you go.
That
Beautiful.
is fantastic. Right, yeah, the commonality among humanity, because a lot of times people fight over politics, they fight over religious opinions, as you rightly said, color, race, gender, the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
But we do not look at the commonality that exists among humanity. And if we can get that, that can be a very strong force that can bond us together.
Very much so. And that brings me, if you have a couple of minutes here.
Yes.
I mentioned this idea of shared value earlier, and I'd like to circle back around to that with your permission, because it's actually part of what this book is about that I mentioned earlier. And then it's very much what the Humanity Project deals with. And one of the things that we do, we teach the kids and we promote it to adults, is the idea of, rather than thinking all the time, which most people tend to do, we think about, what are other people thinking of us? What how are they judging me? Did I just say something wrong? Do they like the shirt I have on? Is my hair okay? We're always worrying about what other people think. We're trying to teach people to shift their perspective, so you focus more on what other people are thinking of themselves. So when you're in a room with somebody, you're treating them in a way that helps them regard themselves with value. Because once an individual feels that they have value, they automatically recognize the value of other people. And it works in the reverse. We find that it's very difficult for most people to really value themselves fully. People think about themselves and worry about themselves all the time, but most people tend to doubt themselves and criticize themselves relentlessly. So we find that if you focus outward on how others are seeing themselves, that automatically tends to help you feel better about yourself, because you can't feel that every other human being is equal, and it's important how they feel about themselves without also recognizing that it's important how you feel about yourself.
That is well put. Fantastic. Because that's what makes people selfish, when you only think about yourself. You only think about yourself and how people think of you. And, that's so sad. Long ago, people used to say, what you just said there is so fantastic. We got to put ourselves in the shoe of another person.
Exactly.
And if we put ourselves in his shoes, we'll understand what he or she, what they're going through. And it's only when we do that, and that brings that equality understanding.
Exactly. That is precisely correct, Shafayat.
Yes. I really, 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 feel so blessed, really, that we could work together and our audience can benefit from your views, your opinions, your experience, your knowledge. And I think that this Humanity Project is a fantastic opportunity to establish what is called equality and understanding and tolerance among other people. For the benefit of our viewers, Bob, I see you have some fantastic sponsors. You want to share some of these sponsors? Because, you got some fantastic sponsors with this organization. Share it with our viewers so they will know the sponsor speaks a lot of who you are and what this organization is all about.
Thank you very much. We're really grateful to our sponsors. Without them, we can't do what we do. Grateful to you. State Farm is one of our major sponsors. They've been with us almost from the very beginning and have been a consistent sponsor with major funding. We are profoundly grateful to them. The same as Our Fund, which is the third largest LGBTQ foundation in the United States. They're very generous to us and consistent sponsors. Google is another sponsor that takes our social media and our the things that we offer and spreads it all over the world. We get hits on our website every single day from 6 continents.
Wow.
And,
so when you have people like State Farm and Google, that's very deep. They're very powerful.
We're very, very, very grateful to them. Children's Services Council of Broward County, a big tax-funded agency here in South Florida. All kinds of great smaller businesses, and an attorney that is a sponsor of ours, Alan Bennett. So yes, we're very blessed and grateful to all of them, because literally that's where our funding comes from.
That is excellent. That is wonderful. So, do you know, we have gone out of time. I'm 1 minute beyond, 1 minute beyond the schedule. But you know what? that's when you're having fun and when you're learning and you're enjoying something, the time just goes. So, Bob, we got to thank you very much. Really thank you for being on the show. You got a couple seconds to conclude.
Thank you, Shafayat, so much. Shaikh Shafayat Muhammad is an honored friend and part of the Humanity Project, and I'm grateful to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And to our viewers out there, it has been a pleasure, wonderful experience talking to Mr. Robert Spencer Knotts, well known as Bob Knotts, a journalist, a man who's a writer, has received many awards, a man of many walks in life. So we have really enjoyed talking to him, and we look forward to having him back on the show. And thank you viewers out there for keeping tuned to Alhikmat TV and looking on and benefiting from what we can bring forth for you and to the world. Thank you again, Bob. It has been a pleasure to have you on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Have a nice day and wish you all the best. Bye-bye.